Do-do-do-do. Ba, 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 ba. 4 seasons in. 4 seasons in. And it's just now dawning on me in this 5th season that I never really covered. Okay, I didn't do it. I did not cover therapist versus a coach. Because I've been talking a lot at the end and at certain points saying, you need to get a therapist. You need to get a counselor, you need to get a therapist. And I've been saying that. But I never really went into how they're different. And so I want to really focus on, in this episode, what a therapist does and what a coach does. Because people need to know when to get which support at the right time for them, because they do 2 different things. And then I also want to talk about, because, hey, we're 5 seasons in. Surely you can see it, but just in case it's not clear, what I do as a coach. Because what I do is about transformation through action, creativity, cultural connection. I want to talk about that. Let's get started. All right, so let us talk about the difference between a therapist and a coach. And of course, because there is a lot that is different, I've got a chart. So let's go ahead and share that. So here are the key differences between therapists and coaches. Now, when it comes to training, a therapist is licensed. They have an advanced degree. So they have all the letters behind their name, right? LCSW, LPC, PhD, PSYD. Whereas a coach, we're certified, and that's optional, but I am certified. But it does come with a niche expertise. When we're looking at what a therapist focuses on, it is healing past trauma, mental health, emotional regulation. Whereas a coach, I'm about goal setting, future planning, personal and professional development. In terms of approach to the patient, or in my case, the client, it's clinical, diagnostic, and often long-term when it comes to a therapist. For me, it's action-oriented, motivational, and often short to midterm. We're not going to be together forever. We could, but we don't have to. Now, the tools we use, a therapist will use CBT, EMDR, talk therapy, psychoanalysis. A coach, I'm going to use accountability, mindset shifts, frameworks, and creative analogies. As for the client, when do we know that they are ready, right? A therapist is going to work with clients in crisis or with a mental health diagnosis. And for me, my clients come to me when they are typically stable, but they're just seeking growth or change. It's a lot. It's a lot, right? And I understand it, which is why I said, Gwendolyn, you got to cover this. So when I'm talking with my clients and we're getting into some things, there is a point where I recognize this is beyond my expertise. So let me tell you what it is. And my key phrase is, sis, I'm not your therapist, but I can get you unstuck. All right, let's dig into it because we've been together 4 seasons now, 4 seasons. And at this point, I believe it is semi-clear as to how I operate when it comes to working with my clients. I like to use pop culture. I like to use movies, song lyrics, everyday life activities, because for me, it makes sense to use what a person knows to get them to understand where I want them to go. Prime example, I was having a conversation with someone about working a project for their business and their brand. Now, I could have easily used a lot of big business words. I know I'm keeping this small, right? But this person is a foodie. And so I decided to use what I love to use, which are food analogies, food metaphors. It just makes sense, right? To keep it all together. So as I would explain to this person, you're brand new into this market. You're like the brand new spot at the mall. Now, some of y'all know about the mall. Some of you are learning about the mall. But you're the brand new spot at the mall. And so what you have to do to bring people in, to introduce them, to get their attention is stand outside, perhaps in a chicken suit, and hand out nibbles, tastes, snacks to get people to recognize you. Same thing with your business. We need to do something that gives them a little appetizer of what you're going to serve. If it's really popping, a little amuse-bouche, right? To get them to say, oh, wow, I'm loving what they're serving. Now let me consider doing a small investment, maybe happy hour, before I decide to sit down for an entree. I like to use activities that we see and we hear and that anyone can understand. You got to meet the clients where they are. Not that you can't use some really technical stuff, but as a coach, my focus is to give you the tools you need to get to where you want to go, which is why at the end of every single session, i.e. our episode, I give you work to do because there's got to be some work. But the work that we're doing is nothing that requires a therapist's help. Not yet. Because I'm looking at mind work. I'm looking at shifting your mindset. I'm looking at having you do some self-reflection. That's where we are as a coach. That's where we start. Some other tools that I may use, and keep in mind where my head goes a lot of times. When things are happening, there is always this little something in my head that says, ooh, that's going to be a great story. And ooh, that's a lesson about patience. Prime example, traffic. Now, I typically leave early. And when I say I leave early than early so I can get there super, super ahead of time. Because if you know, early is on time and on time is late and late is not acceptable. Okay, whatever. But traffic, when we're in traffic and I see people dipping and dodging out of lanes, and they go here and it doesn't move, and they go here and it doesn't move, and they go, it's like if you would just sit still, it's going to move. That's patience. I'm also thinking you need to look at your time management, because at this point, you should know, and I know I said should, so forgive me, people, but you should know that at a certain period of time in your community, there's going to be traffic. You should know if it's raining and people have a hard time driving on dry land, that if you now have wet pavements, it's going to get a little extra. So I should leave even earlier than what I was going to leave. Err on the side of caution, right? But I look at everyday occurrences and I write down thoughts about them, because in my head, I'm thinking that's going to be a great metaphor. That's going to be a great story for somebody somewhere. That's what I use. I use vision mapping. There's a lot of identity work. We do some confidence building. Public speaking is part of that. People have done vision boards, so same thing. But we use tools that are creative in nature and easy. And the only investment truly is your time. Now, keep in mind, you can hire a coach 1,000 times. If you don't want to do the work, you're not going to get your money's worth. So I'm going to go ahead and put that out there, but that's another thing. So let me move to the next thing here, which is, when do you need a therapist? Because that's the question, right? That's the question. The question is, when do I When do I recommend someone is a therapist? When people go to a place of sharing trauma, okay? When they go to a place of sharing trauma, or they're discussing that they may be depressed or have anxiety, I'm going to say for myself, when the topic is heavy, I immediately go to a place of pause, because I'm not that place. This is why when I talk about our friends and our support circles, there's a reason why I say they're not your therapist. I believe it's great to want to share with your family members and your loved ones and your best friend the pain you are going through, so that they understand where you are at this particular time in your life. That's great. However, it does not change the fact that you need a therapist. It doesn't change that. They are not equipped to handle trauma. They're not equipped to talk about your depression. They're not equipped to help you handle your anxiety. That is not what your family and friends are for. It's not their job. It's not what they're meant to do. Even if you did have a family member who was, say, a counselor, that's a tad bit too close, in my opinion. In my opinion, it's too close. You need someone who is not attached to you to help you work through whatever that pain is. So that's when I know, cue the music. It is time to get a therapist. Coaches are for people who are looking to build the future. People who are, for all intents and purposes, fairly stable. I mean, heck, we're all going through something. Ain't nobody out here perfect, okay? Because that don't exist. But we're for people who are looking to break through whatever barrier is there for them and help them get to that next spot and maybe a few other spots. We are there for that. And we can help you work through that. Again, creativity. The word is creatively. That's the word. But even the person who is fairly stable may find, or I may identify through conversation and questions, right? Because there's always questions, that there may be something that is there, some underlying something that I am not going to poke into, but that I will suggest, I believe you should also get a therapist. Because I'm hearing things and my gut is telling me that you've got some pain, you have some unresolved issue with XYZ, that it would be best to bring in a different kind of professional to help you work through this, and this. That's my job, as well as helping you go through some other things. So can you have both? All right, so let's work through this together, because this is a great thing, right? And I'm gonna throw up a chart because Gwendolyn loves charts, okay? So let's go through if we are trying to decide what we need when. And can you have both? Because obviously the answer is yes, but whatever. Okay, Now, coaching is the right fit when you are ready to move forward, but you feel stuck. You want to change careers. You want to build confidence. You want to find your purpose. It's also great if you're looking for accountability, clarity, and creative tools to grow. That's when you have your coach. When you are needing a therapist is when you are still hurting deeply from your past, when you have unresolved trauma, when you have grief that interferes with daily life, or maybe there is depression that could be undiagnosed. Like some of this could be undiagnosed. I want to make sure that's clear there too. So that could be a moment when you need to look at a therapist. So now let's talk about having both. So therapy and coaching, they can exist hand in hand. There is not a place where it has to be either or, right? It's not, I gotta have a therapist, I can't have this. You can have both. One, a therapist heals. A coach, myself, we build. We're here to get you out. Again, I can get you unstuck. That's where I am. And I get people unstuck, if I must say so. Man, the movies, I'm good for a movie reference. Now, I know that sometimes, right now, my movies are getting a little dated because people are like, what's The Matrix? I've never seen The Matrix. What? I've never seen Twister. What? I have yet to see Star Wars. I'm sorry. For me, there is a line. Not that I've ever told someone that I won't work with you because you've never seen Star Wars, but it's pushing it, okay? It's really pushing it. And then they tell me, well, I've never heard of Prince. Yeah. Here's the deal, though. Even though some of this comes up, I can still work with everybody. So we make it work. That is the whole point of having that intake form, to find out where I need to meet you and where I need to adjust my references to get the message across. Okay, so I just want to make sure that still happens no matter what. But I'm not gonna lie, it kind of gets in the way, right? Because when I think about using Prince and some of his lessons from his lyrics, it's about being bold, passionate, self-expression, standing on your own, owning your work, your creativity. Yeah. And of course, Star Wars, hello, Master Yoda. Now, look, if you saw last season, you saw number 1, we talked about there is no try. You either gonna do it, you're not gonna do it. So, hey, let me tell you. Okay, let me focus on the task at hand. Because we do have, obviously, we gotta get this together, wrap this up for you. Okay, so let me get serious here. Okay. Therapists and coaches can work together, and it can be a wonderful relationship. I don't need to know the therapist. I don't need to know what you two talked about. Not one thing. All I know is I am here to help you keep moving forward in your career, in your life, in your purpose. That is my job there. And so it's perfectly fine to have both. It doesn't make you less than. It doesn't say that something's wrong with you. As a matter of fact, our society has done such a piss poor job of really supporting people and acknowledging that as humans, we are some rather jacked up animals. We've done a horrible job in making that clear to people. That people feel like, if I have to get a doctor, if I have to get a therapist, if I have to get a coach, something's wrong with me. So nothing is wrong with you. As a matter of fact, you are on the cutting edge of self-care and self-awareness and self-love by doing what is best for you, your mind, your body, and your soul. That is what that says. So let's do some work. Okay, so we got to figure out where you are. So I have 2 things for you. 2 things. You guys remember that? Okay, maybe you don't remember it because I keep forgetting. But there are 2 things for you. First of all, we want to talk about doing a self-assessment. And a self-assessment is to help you figure out what support you need right here and right now. So looking at this chart, because again, Gwendolyn loves charts. That's the college professor in me coming out. Here is the chart about doing this self-assessment. And, it's just a simple thing of what do I need right now? Here are your prompts. It is, am I trying to heal from something in my past? Am I feeling stuck but ready to move forward? And do I need emotional support or strategic guidance? Those are your prompts. What I want you to do is to create a therapist and coach column on a piece of paper, in your notebook, in your journal, wherever you want to write it, in your phone. But each one of those are different. If you are needing emotional support, that's a therapist, right? If you are needing healing, that is a therapist. If you want to get unstuck, if you need someone to help you move forward, if you're just looking for guidance, that is a coach. But start with that to figure out what you need in terms of support right now. Now, I have talked, not here, but I have talked about getting an accountability group, having a supportive circle of friends. Right? We did mention that to people, the company you keep. Those people are separate from this. This is about you. You and only you, and it's going to be about you. Okay? Newsflash, it is perfectly fine to focus on you and make you the priority for you. Okay, done. But since we're in our journal, and we have this prompt, this chart of therapist or coach, and you're going to tick off what fits for you. Let me give you a journal prompt that you can also use as well. So again, let us bring up our chart. Okay, this is not a chart per se. This one is really just a visual. We love visuals. What college professor doesn't love visuals? Here's the visual. This is your journal prompt. What does support look like for me? I want you to write this down, really think about it. And it could be a piece of paper, it could be a notepad, it doesn't really matter. Again, it could be your phone. If you're using your phone, you can even do a voice note. But what kind of support has helped me in the past? What do I want to feel after a session? Do I want to be lighter? Do I want to be clearer? Do I want to be more focused? And then here's your last prompt. What am I afraid of when it comes to asking for help? I am quite surprised. And I don't know why I am because, I am quite surprised the number of people who don't like asking for help. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, if you are stuck in the mud, you better ask somebody to help you get out of whatever hole you're in. That don't come by itself. Ask somebody for some help. It ain't going to kill you. I'm surprised. So now you have your journal prompt so that you can figure out therapist versus coach, but also really focus on what makes sense for you. But I have one more thing for you, just one more thing, because I would love to believe that you guys, y'all are doing the work. I would love to believe it. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. So I figured, let me do what I can do to help you do the work, right? So I said, Gwendolyn, yes, third person, I know, roll with it. I said, Gwendolyn, wouldn't it be great if you could create a workbook to help people do the work? Yes, that'd be great, it'd be perfect. So in this workbook, we have 5 exercises. 2 of them you already have, but there are 5 exercises to help you do the work on finding a therapist or a coach. And there is a little bonus in there too, just in case you get a little extra, there's a bonus in there. Now, the great thing is these are not super duper workbooks. They're really small. They're petite. This is work you can do in your spare time, but it keeps you focused. And it also keeps you in line with being committed to you and your growth. Now, you can find this workbook on my Instagram page, the Linktree link, or you can go to my personal YouTube channel and find it there too, also in Linktree. So you can get the book, start doing the work, and really start seeing the growth. I mean, you're here for a reason. At some point, we got to come together, put our foot on base, and get it done. at some point. Now, with that, I'm going to say this. Make sure you give yourself the space and grace to grow and learn. See you in the next one.